I've tried my best to not be socially inept and meet and interact with other human beings, because being alone in my house is kind of stressful and makes you feel like you're going crazy sometimes. I think the main reason is just because I enjoy socializing, and when I don't have the ability to socialize, I feel like I start getting in like the repetition of just like living the same day different days, where like I wake up, I do my dailies, and then I kind of sit down and do nothing. Or I could get online and be like, yeah, I'm gonna go to a bar, quote, and be like, yeah, I'm gonna go talk to some strangers, I'm gonna go and like interact and like do social cues. It helps me get my mind off the fact that I have to stay indoors most or pretty much every single day. So it basically makes me a lot more comfortable with what's going on in the world today than I have ever really been in previous days, because I used to have VR back in the day and it wasn't like that big of a deal because I never really had like a purpose for it. But this like newfound day and age, it's like allowed me to have like a different type of purpose to own VR, or just be in VR chat as a whole. There's two things that I like to think about. Is I could be in this game and I could look at you, and if you were to ask me quite literally anything, it's not like if you were in front of me and you knew where I live or like my name and stuff like that.
Right.
It's not gonna hurt me any way to tell you certain things, because what are you gonna do with that information? I'm literally just a pixel on your computer screen.
Literally, yeah.
And the second thing is like I try to make a lot of deep connections with other human beings. That's why I play this game so much. It doesn't bother me. I've talked about or seen worse, like I described to you earlier. So, people asking me, hey, how you feeling? That's not the worst question I've ever been asked.
So do you think there's an element to being in VR chat, or especially being in virtual reality, that gives you, is it the anonymity, or is it like it brings out your true self, like just who you would be normally? Like, because in real life you might hold back in public, or you might hold back around people that you know because you're afraid of what they might think of you. Is it like you just kind of like lose all your inhibitions when you're in virtual reality?
Sometimes. Just the type of person I am in real life, I'm very I'm exactly the way I am right now. Like if someone was to like come up to me and like ask me certain things, I will answer them in whichever way they would like me to answer them. But if it is, like I said, like something like super duper personal, I'd be like, well, I don't know you like that. I don't, just like whatever,
right.
Man. Not know like what is that one show called? Dash Cam Confessions or something like that. So I act the same way in this game as I do in real life, especially in social situations. I'm not very comfortable with social situations because I always feel like if I was to want to like talk, it's like talking over someone, because everyone in this game is very like hands-on and personal, or like loud and lively. And I think that's exactly what you described, is like a lot of people get to be who they're not like in real life. Like you can't go to a party and like flash your or like do all this crazy stuff like you can in this game. Like it allows you to be something that you're not, and you have that level of like freedom that real life can't literally give you. So, and another thing about this game is obviously you can be whatever you want, you can look however you want. So I think that it allows people to actually bring out that comfortable side. It's because like, yeah, that's the way you want to look, and you can. So it allows you to have that more confidence, allows you to just do what you want. It kind of boils down to that, is just real life has its limitations, but when you're in a virtual sense, you can do literally anything you want. For me, it's still the same thing though with real life compared to a virtual sense. As any social situation, I'm usually very like timid or shy unless I do know people. Then at that point I just kind of stay in my lane, and I stay in like a little bubble where someone talks to me, I'm cool with it, but I won't try to be like the center of attention.
It's like the lack of consequences. You can basically do and be whoever you want, say anything you want, and there's not really like any real repercussions. Like you might get banned or whatever, but you could always just make a new account.
Yeah, I mean, in this sense, the worst thing that could physically or realistically happen to you is you like stub your toe. or punch your monitor out.
Right.
So I've had experiences where this was like way back when I didn't even have VR and I didn't want to get VR. I just played it because I was like, oh, I saw James Ski play and I was like, wow, that looks like really fun, and I started playing it. And I had met someone who I'm still friends with on social media because they live in a different state. But me and him had met and he was super duper cool. Like I was going through a really rough time where I was like drinking a lot and doing other really bad things to like my person. And I had met him one night when I was like, and he just kind of showed me like, hey, you know, someone's out there, they are willing to listen. Everyone's not out here just to have fun. Like some people are looking for others or trying to be there for another human being, just like how there's like the exact same resources out there in real life, but sometimes a lot of people don't have that availability to be like, yeah, I can go see a doctor, I can go see a psychologist, I can just go outside and meet my friends. Some people don't have those, you know, options. Having the availability to get into a position where you can just talk or like rant or ask someone for advice, like just randomly, just like going out inside and talking to strangers, but people are more comfortable being in this environment and they're willing to give you advice or like listen to your issues. Sometimes, granted, sometimes people are assholes.
Sure, of course.
The biggest case that I had was when I was hanging out with that person in like a public environment. I had heard like a kid, like he was like maybe like 11, 12 maybe. He had come into the world that me and him were like hanging out in, and the kid just started talking, and like I was being like cool with it because I was just like, I'm not in the mood to be like, hey, you get out of here, you can't be playing this too late. But like the kid just started like talking about like how he was feeling, like there was some things going on in his personal life, and like I was like asking him like, you know, hey, what's going on, bud? Like you can talk to me, whatever. You know, you don't have to tell me anything you don't want to, but like you sound pretty upset. And he was just like talking yada yada yada, and we get to like a situation where like he kind of like told me what was like really bothering him, and me and my friend were both listening, and he admitted to me that like he was feeling like super duper like depressed and insecure about the fact that he had found out that he was adopted. And for me, I was just like, I can't really relate with that, but I could, you know, show him that from like adult's perspective, because he was telling me how he was like being bullied for it and this and that, and I'm like, listen, you know, there's going to be a lot of experiences that you're going to have from here moving forward, and I for one won't always be there for you, but you need to understand that like the situation that you're in is not something that you should look at so negatively, because your parents aren't your biological parents, but they're the ones who chose to love you more than any other person out there. They accepted you into their family. They did all these things for you. They gave you a life that they thought you deserved. And apparently how he was describing, he lived in like a big house. His parents were like super rich. And I'm like, you know, man, I didn't have any of that when I was growing up, and I wish I did. But if it was under the same circumstances you had, like I could totally understand like how it feels bad. It feels wrong. And, you know, push goes to shove and blah, 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 blah. We get into it and he starts like being emotional. And I'm like, you know, totally okay. I'm like, I'm here. For you, man. You can add me on Discord. You can find me on VRChat whenever. Like I'm on here every day. And just reach out, just talk to us. And it was like a 3-hour conversation between me and my friend. We were just, you know, being there for not only a human being, but for a child who literally came here looking for like someone to talk to. And that was like a really big thing that like made me fall in love with the experience that I could share with like anyone who comes in this like environment that looks for help. Because some people, that's sometimes like having a conversation with someone could literally mean life or death. And I know that's a really harsh way of looking at it, but sometimes it's the reality of the situation. And you know, if I could be there for that person just that one time, you know, just a coincidence, I'm by all means, I'm honored.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, man. Like you really don't really know what people are going through until you realize what they're going through. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And sometimes a lot of people don't even ask. And met some really good friends here. And it's made me pretty envious of the fact that a lot of the people that I know in real life aren't as relatable to as people who are, because like a lot of people come here and they are allowed to be who they want to be, or pretend, or just be completely open and have like the barrier of like human interaction is kind of lifted, and you kind of be able to interact with people without the the feeling of being judged or scared of what you look like or anything.
Sure. Yeah.
Really. And I think that that's allowed me to make really close friendships or like relationship, whatever you want to call them. And it's made me think about the fact that a lot of the interactions that I've ever had in real life have never been as genuine as they were on an online environment where
Really?
you can go and do anything, you can be anything. Yeah. And a lot of the friends that I've made, I'm still friends with today from like years, and people that I've known in real life, you know, they come and go. But it seems that when you remove that barrier of, at least just from my personal experience, I can't speak for others, but a lot of the times that I've ever shared certain relationships or friendships with people in real life, it's always kind of ended quicker than normal compared to a lot of the people that I've ever known online. Like I've known people online since like middle school that are still my friends today, but people that I've known in real life, they come and go like nothing. I think that it's just like all the examples that I've put, I think that I wouldn't say that virtual interactions are necessarily better than real life interactions, because primarily deep down in our psyche, there's something that is just embedded in all humans, that you do want that interaction with another human being. And
For sure.
that's something that you can't really find in a virtual environment, because it's as close as it gets to being what it is in real life. Like, yeah, I can see you, and like when I move my body like this, you know, you can physically see that I'm basically literally right in front of you, but wherever you are in the world, you're really far away from me. So being in VR, you can physically interact with humans and stuff like that, and you kind of get that subconscious like itch scratched a little bit, but it's not something that can be easily replaced or something that's ever going to change in the future, unless we have like deep dive where I am in the game and I don't have controllers or a headset and all this around me is like right in front of me and all that crazy stuff. But
Yeah.
even then, I think that in the human psyche, there's always going to be that barrier that determines what's real and what's not. And I think that people who do spend hundreds of thousands of hours in this game, or tens of thousands of hours in this game, because I've met people who have played this game for like 10,000 hours. And
I believe it.
I can't really sit here and think that, like, you know, over like a couple years that's even achievable, because I've played this one video game for like 9 years and I barely have like 5,000 hours. Like, that's not that much. Like, this is a couple months basically.
Right.
And there's people out there who have almost played an entire year of their temporary existence in a virtual environment, and it boggles my mind to think that this is some people in this game take this game very seriously. Like, this is like their life, you know?
Like, this is the world that they live in.
Basically, yeah, because this is where they get to be who they want to be, or this is where all their relationships or their friendships lie, and like all the experiences that they get to do or go through on a daily basis. Like, yeah, you gotta work, you gotta eat, but if you're not happy with whatever around you, you can literally go and make or do what makes you happy anytime you want. I guess the last thing that I could probably say is, no matter where you are, no matter who you are, and how you view yourself in any sort of light, there's always a place, there's always a time or another person to show you that you're not alone. And if there's ever a time in this world where, if anyone sees this, I guess, if you see me, you can come say hello. And just know that no matter how bad it gets, everyone's in something together. We all have our experiences, and you got this.